Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Venus conjunct one's natal Neptune. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Venus, it can be about love, what we enjoy, value, things that may affect our self-worth, our self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves. Now, when you have transit Venus conjoin your natal Neptune, this could be about loving, enjoying, valuing. It could be idealism, being idealistic, not necessarily, completely overlooking transgressions of others, or it could be just trying to see the best in others. If this is in the fourth house, it could be just trying to see the best in your family members, or trying to, valuing, finding that ideal home. Perhaps if it's in Sagittarius, it could be in a foreign country. And also our dreams as well. This is about the enjoyment of whatever is, whether it's a literal dream or what we're fantasizing on, what we really want, what would give, perhaps the ultimate joy and happiness for ourselves. And if it's in Sagittarius, going back to Sagittarius again, it could be something with sports or athletics, or something with religion, perhaps, and just you know, it could be, working in, immigration as another example. Now, another thing to remember, Neptune is connected with deception and duplicity. Now, of course, we're not going to value, it's really the art to value deception, duplicity, unless somebody is like a really corrupt person, which is very, remote and isolated. But it could be a time where we could you could value that in terms of other people and understanding more about deception, duplicity, getting a greater understanding, perhaps, and understand that plays an important role, for example, in like relationships. If you have in your seventh house, that's how maybe it could manifest and pan out, or it could even be a relate somebody you're in, whether it's an important friendship or a significant other. You might be trying, there might be some deception, duplicity going on with that person. Now, another thing is, this could also be, Neptune is about isolation as well. We might value that a little bit more and have more enjoyment in connection with that, more so than usual at this time. It could be a time where you might be enjoying your solitude and seclusion. And even if you have a chart that's very gregarious or extroverted or what have you, it might surprise some people to see that you might be retreating and kind of escaping the world for a little bit more than what you're generally accustomed to. And also too, Neptune is associated with incarceration and imprisonment. So it could be, I mean, if you have, some kind of, if you out there, it says might have some kind of criminal record, this is a time where maybe it might be affecting, your self-worth, your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself. But also on a positive end, this could be also the valuing of dissolving and dissipating something, whether, it could be something that, maybe it's run its course, it's not advantageous to you anymore. If it's in the seventh house, it could be, maybe like a relationship, or maybe fighting a battle with an open adversary that's just, it just keeps going on, and you're trying to, it could be dissolving maybe the hatred toward that person and dissolving that fight, that battle with that person, as an example. But anatomically speaking, Neptune is associated with the feet, the toes, lymphatic system, immune system, and body fat. So this could be a time where you're more about, really, it's again the valuing these things as something that you see this maybe as something more important. If there's something wrong, especially with any of these things that I had mentioned, or it may be time. I mean, we're in an era now of this coronavirus. And as far as the immune system goes, it could be time where you look in terms of bolstering your immune system as something is more significant and important, in contrast to how you thought about it previously. And also remember, Neptune is associated with drugs and alcohol. Venus can be very indulgent. I mean, you have these two planets contacting each other. You just have to make sure that you're not over, indulging in these things, especially if you're at a higher risk in terms of taking recreational drugs or alcohol in terms of death. It can be a time where, in some isolated cases, it could indicate excessive use of these things because Venus is about our enjoyment, it's about indulging, and Neptune, of course, is associated with drugs and alcohol. Now, this could be a time where you might be more attractive to Neptunian people like mediums or psychics or people that are just dreamers, poets, dancers, people in the metaphysical, which can include astrology, chemists, etc. It's also a time where you might have more, might dress in a way where you're more mystical or ethereal. That might come across as more attractive to others. If it's in Scorpio, I mean, Neptune is connected with dancing. You might be more attractive to even erotic or, exotic dancers at this time, or, wearing people wearing provocative outfits if it's in Scorpio. And you might be at this time as well, your relationships might be those. I mean, Venus can be connected with relationships, of course, and they might be those with people that are less fortunate, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the hungry, or the homeless. Since it's going back to the sign Sagittarius, it could be with foreigners or somebody of different ethnicity. Also, too, people that might be a little bit nebulous as well, or vague or unclear. It's also a time where you might be more being more forgiving, more compassionate at this time, and trying not to not overlooking completely again the transgressions of others, but trying to not emphasize them or accentuate them as much as you may have previously. Also about the enjoyment of the expression of altruism, self-sacrificing, and also escapism, and even surrender. And surrender, I don't mean necessarily to authority or police, but ending and acquiescing with somebody, being able to end an argument by saying, okay, you're giving in, especially if you actually in your heart if you're wrong in a situation. Or making an admission to something that you may have been suppressing for sometimes surrendering information to somebody. In Capricorn, it could be an authority figure as an example. Now, in remote cases, I mean, there might be a lawsuit that might involve something Neptune related. It could be something with fraud or deception, or suing a pharmaceutical company or some chemical lab or company or what have you. It could be, even maybe some medium or psychic that might have promised you the world and nothing happened, and whether you could actually sue those people or not, I really don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there arbitrarily as a possible example. Now, and again, in remote cases, it could be suing something over fraud or deception in general. If the sun is involved, it could be like identity fraud. If this is also, say, contacting the sun in the process, or even in the first house, I would say, could be identity fraud. The second house may be financial fraud if it falls there. Now, the thing about it is, if you're involved in a separation or divorce at this time, maybe the details may be somewhat vague or nebulous or unclear. It might be over being a victim in a situation with that significant other. Maybe it's getting away from somebody that might have had some addiction, whether it might be to drugs or sex or alcohol. This is also, again, Venus is about enjoyment, what we love, and there might be more of an enjoyment of lethargy and stagnation, more so than usual at this time. And also another way this could manifest and pan out, this could be the expression of Neptunian art, because art could be associated with Venus. Neptune can be associated with things that are abstract. It could be abstract art, fantastic art, fantasy, fictional art, maybe depicting your dreams. It could be something that could be, somewhat mystical. maybe something associated with the metaphysical, which includes astrology. And also, too, it can be a time where you're using really, this is Neptune. I'm sorry, Venus can be about peace, and Neptune, is about, spirit could be about spirituality, forgiveness. So this could be a time where this can manifest perhaps in finding peace through spirituality, for forgiving, maybe surrendering yourself maybe to somebody. It can be maybe an escapism. I don't mean drugs or alcohol. I mean just finding like isolation, getting away from the world for a little bit, meditation, relaxation. Uh, and also, on another positive note, this could manifest in something monetary that could be Neptune related. You might be coming into a little bit more money. Perhaps that could be Neptune related if you're doing something like with chemistry or pharmaceutical work. Might be some bonus or something. Metaphysical, which includes astrology, poetry, dancing, anesthesiology. By doing something, of a fantastical nature. It could be fictional writing. Maybe it's making, the games that are, sports games that are speculative, that are simulated, that pit, old teams against each other from the past. If it's in the fifth house or Sagittarius, maybe it's something, Sagittarius could be associated with sports. The fifth house could be associated with sports and games. So, I mean, those are some examples of how this can manifest in Pan. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.